What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Married at First Sight, Season 15, Episode 9. Let's talk about Morgan and Ben. So they have a conversation about love, the love conversation, and which I think was assigned to them by one of the experts. So Ben says that he's never been in love. Kristen says that she was in love. Not Kristen, Morgan. Morgan says that she was in love and it was in her most recent relationship. And she said that it was just the right person at the wrong time and that's why that didn't work out. Ben says that the pressure that he faced at home, growing up in an Asian family, he had a lot of pressure on him to be this overachiever, to be this academic genius, to grow up and be a doctor. And it left him feeling very insecure because he didn't satisfy any of that. Um, then he says that because of his own insecurities of what he went through growing up, whatever, this is the reason why he brings up the whole situation of when he, betrayed her trust and gathered all that information from her about her education, whether or not she was an actual nurse, about the relationship with her father, when they were in Mexico in the honeymoon. And he said that he had a problem with her lying about her profession. He had a problem with the relationship that she had with her dad, and he had a problem with her finances, her student loan debt. And so then he goes to Justin and, spills all of her tea to Justin. And then she ends up finding out that he was, talking about her to other people. And that's what caused them to have this huge rift in their relationship. And it caused her to just completely shut down, push him away, put up her walls. So he says to her, that I think I was deflecting my own insecurities on you and I shouldn't have. It was wrong for me to do that. So he has this huge aha moment where he's like, yeah, I really thought about it. And I think the reason why I was giving you a hard time was because those were the issues that I was having within myself. So he talked about, he also has daddy issues, because he never lived up to his father's expectations. And so he deflected that on her when he said, what, I have a problem with the relationship that you have with your dad, because she completely cut her dad out of her life. And so he had a problem with that, which, that wasn't the issue. The issue was his own issues, his own problem with his own father. And then he talked about how, he had a problem with her when he said that he had a problem with her education and whether or not she was really a nurse. It was because he was suffering with his own insecurities about his own education. He's not an academic scholar. He's not a doctor. He's not an engineer or lawyer. He's none of that. And so he felt insecure because he couldn't achieve any of those things that his family wanted him to achieve. And so he was deflecting that or putting that on her when he was questioning her credits. Is she really a nurse? Does she really finish school? Why is she still going to school? What is she going to school for? If supposedly she's already a registered nurse. So he had this huge moment, right? And so he says that he always felt like that he wasn't enough. And so he had this breakthrough moment. And it was really refreshing to see someone being able to connect the dots like that and to give a full explanation of why they did the wrong thing that they did and where that was actually coming from. And for them to take accountability of their actions and say, look, this had nothing to do with you. This had everything to do with me and where I was lacking as a person. And because I didn't want to look within myself, I was just trying to get, put that all on you and get mad at you, but I should have been mad at myself. It was really refreshing to see that. I could not believe how mature Ben appeared in that moment. Unfortunately, because of the teaser and because of the previews, everything goes to hell in the next episode with Ben and Morgan. But I'm going to appreciate that moment with Ben for what it is. And I give him mad props for acknowledging all of that and for letting her know that he acknowledged all of that. And so she herself basically gave him a pat on the back and she was like, I'm really glad that you came to that realization. And it's like, it's wonderful that you realized that. And so it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And so then, they talked about people pleasing. He talked about why he's a people pleaser. And he said that he was a people pleaser because he was bullied as a child. He says he grew up, I kind of figured out he grew up I think he grew up in a black neighborhood because he said that because of his parents' finances, not being that great, And, that's where he got on her case about, in Mexico, he talked about her student debt. And, but in actuality, he's the one that came from a low income background. He says because of his parents' financial status, they could only live in areas that they could afford. And I think he grew up in California. And so that made me think that, he was trying to say with that saying that he grew up in a black neighborhood or something. I don't know exactly what he was trying to say, but yeah. So he says his parents could only afford to live in certain neighborhoods, and when he would go to school, he would be the only Asian kid, and people would pick on him for that, pick on him for being Asian. And he said that in order to prevent being bullied, he just decided to be a pleaser. He was going to do whatever these kids wanted him to do to make them happy, to please them so that they could leave him alone and not bully him. And Morgan said that she's also the same way, and that she became a people pleaser because she really wanted to please her dad. She really wanted her dad to accept her. So she was constantly chasing his approval, and she had to realize that, hey, he'll never be happy with who I am. He's not going to be satisfied with what I'm doing. And so that's when she decided to cut her father off. These people were having some very deep discussions, and I was loving every minute of it. A huge contrast from Stasha and Nate. Stasha trying to create moments when Ben and Morgan are having very natural moments. He came upon this on his own to talk about these things. It wasn't because she was pressuring him, to go deep, peel back the layer, take off the layers, go deep. She just let him be, and he did whatever he needed to do. I thought that was just absolutely wonderful. So they had a great moment. I loved the segment of Ben and Morgan because I kind of see Ben, because he has these corny jokes. He has these moments of immaturity. So when he was like telling her these things about the things that he discovered about himself, I was just like, come on, Ben. Yes. Yes. A round of applause. I was absolutely loving it. But unfortunately, they gave us a peek of what's going to be happening next week, and he's back to his old ways, pissing her off. And that's going to be hard for me to watch because they've made such progress here. Now they're going to be taking, like 1,000 steps back. So anyways, that's all I have to say about Ben and Morgan. When they had their group therapy session, what was their issue when their group therapy? Morgan and Ben, things are getting better for them. And oh, yes. Morgan said that she wanted him to compliment her in a more romantic way. She said that, because he said something to her like, oh, you look real icy or iced out or something. He used some type of term. And she was like, I'm not one of your homeboys. I'm not one of your bros. I'm your wife. So, compliment me as such. Say something romantic. Say something, complimentary, like you look beautiful today. You look pretty today. That's a nice outfit. I like your hair. Not, oh, you're iced out. No. And so he was like, okay, I'm receiving that. I hear you. I understand. And so, I want to be happy for Ben and Morgan, but I have to be cautiously happy. And we know how these shows do. They'll show you a teaser or a preview and make you think that everything is going to hell. And then you actually watch it and they completely over exaggerate it. And we have a happy ending at the end of the 2 hours. The 2 hours, we have a happy ending. So I'm just going to reserve any negative feelings until I see the actual episode next week. But for this week, Ben and Morgan get a gold star. Thank you so much for joining me in this review of Married at First Sight. If you like this content, please subscribe on your way out. Don't forget to rate this video, and I will be back with my next couple.